This is an M-Audio M-Track digital audio workstation. It connects instruments and microphones to the computer for recording. There are 2 channels on this M-Track, capable of accepting 2 instruments or microphones. Each channel has a recording volume that can be adjusted, quieter to the left and louder to the right. The big knob in the center is for volume control if speakers were plugged into the M-Track. In this case, they aren't, so this knob will have no effect. A pair of headphones can be plugged into the M-Track with this headphone adapter seen here. This allows you to listen to any playback through the device. The plus 48 volt switch allows users with condenser microphones to get the extra power they need to function. An indicator light shows when it is switched on. Users with microphones that require this extra power should know to use it. Indicator lights for the recording volume of each channel can be found running vertically along the left side of the M-Track. Volume control for headphones can be found here along the top right. The USB direct knob will focus what sounds a person will hear coming from the M-Track. Turning the knob entirely to USB will only allow the user to hear playback sounds coming from the computer. This will mute any live instruments plugged into the M-Track. Turning the knob all the way to direct will only allow the user to hear any live instruments or microphones plugged into the M-Track and will mute any playback sounds coming from the computer. In order to hear both playback and live instruments, place the knob somewhere in the middle, adjusting as needed. On the back of this particular M-Track, you'll find the input for channel 1, which is a combo port, meaning it will accept both instrument cables and microphone cables. The other 2 ports on the back are for external speakers, which we're not using here. Lastly, the USB cable that connects the M-Track to the computer attaches here. While the port for channel 1 is at the back of the M-Track, the port for channel 2 can be found at the front of the device, both of which are clearly marked. In this video, a microphone with an adjustable arm is attached to the M-Track via a microphone cable, otherwise known as an XLR cable. It is plugged into channel 1 at the back of the M-Track. To plug in a microphone cable, simply line up the pins and insert into either channel on the M-Track. Open GarageBand on the attached computer and start a new project. When prompted to choose a track type for the initial track, select the microphone icon from the blue audio choices. Below, you'll find a list of options, including what devices you want to use for input, which is how the microphone connects to the computer, and output, which is how you hear everything in GarageBand. If plugged in, the M-Track should be the default for both, but can be changed by clicking the arrow beside the choices. This will bring up a menu allowing you to change your input and output devices. We know that the microphone is connected to the M-Track, so that will be our input, and if we have headphones plugged into the M-Track, we can select that as our output device as well, but can always switch to the built-in iMac speakers if desired. If live monitoring is not needed, this box can be unchecked. This is also true if you're using the M-Track to control your sounds. Now that our track has been created, the track information can be found here. This includes turning live monitoring on and off, muting this particular track channel during playback, or soloing this channel for playback, which will mute all other tracks. Panning the track to the left and right channel and post-recording volume control can also be found here. Recording controls can be found along the top, with the metronome and a 4-beat count-in turned on by default. Pressing the recording button will start recording whatever track is selected, and the visualization of that recording will begin to appear. The louder the recording, the larger the visualization. Switching over to instruments, use the instrument cable to plug one end into the guitar. Keep in mind that some cables have a standby switch on them, which will mute the instrument when pressed. The other end of the instrument cable can be plugged into either channel of the M-Track. In GarageBand, create a new track. Either audio track can be selected here. The one on the right gives users options for different amplifiers and pedals that can be applied to the track. If using channel 2 on the M track, make sure to select that here under Inputs so GarageBand knows which channel to record. Both channels on the M track can be recorded at once. Selecting Track from the top menu, then choosing Configure Track Header will bring up a window where the Record Enable button can be made visible, which will give each track the option to be recorded once that button is pressed. Having both tracks armed for recording now, once the recording button is pressed, both tracks will record whatever is plugged into their respective channels, creating 2 unique tracks in GarageBand. This is useful if a pair of individuals are recording a podcast with different microphones, for example. It allows each track to be edited independently. The keyboard is a USB device and can be plugged directly into the computer. This also applies to the electronic drum kit, which also has a USB connection direct to the computer. The drums can also be connected to the M track with an instrument cable plugged into the audio out port on the drums. If using a USB connection directly to the computer, select the green Software Instrument icon on the left. GarageBand will automatically use this as the input device since the connection is direct, and will only show the option for output, which can be the built-in computer speakers or the M track if you have headphones plugged into it. With a USB track created, GarageBand offers up a lot of options in terms of instrument sounds. Because the connection is digital, whatever is played with the keyboard can be made to sound like anything in the library, and can be changed as much as you'd like after the recording. Pick whatever instrument you want your recording to sound like, and the connected keyboard will now have that sound. Options for each instrument are displayed when that instrument is chosen. Going from different instruments, like a piano to a synth for example, will provide different options for that instrument. Press the record button to begin recording. Notice the visualization looks different. This is because the sounds being recorded are digital and not analog. And that covers the basic instrument connections for your Makerspace.